Good morning, everyone. Very pleased to see everyone back. I hope you all had a very good evening with all the dancing and celebration and cocktail. It was a great day, and I congratulate Dawit again and his team for the launch of the various papers and for very good sessions yesterday. So to start us off this morning, we're going to be looking at developing the internet economy and specifically looking at the African internet economy. And I have with me Dr. Michael Kende, who's a long-term friend, worked with Analysis Mason and was also the former chief economist of ISOC, and doing great work with all of us. Essentially what we want for this session to begin with is Michael here is going to be, Dr. Kende is going to be setting the scene for us and providing us with a general overview of results of a study that he and Dawit are looking at, that is exploring the African internet economy. And the objective is to get input so that we can finalize that paper in time for its launch at the African Internet Summit. We want to see the paper itself is looking at going beyond the economy. We've been used to focusing on content and infrastructure, so we'd like to go beyond and examine more the so-called digital transformation across a spectrum of areas, including, perhaps maybe science and technology competition, bringing in small businesses online, and to identify perhaps a mix of how we can maximize the benefits of the increasingly digitized global economy. So without much ado, I think I'd like to invite Dr. Kende to provide us with that overview, 15 minutes, and then another 15 minutes of general discussion so that we can get your input on this. Michael, please. Thank you.
All right, good morning. Thank you for the introduction, and thanks to our hosts for putting on this two-day event covering these critical issues of education and the internet economy, which I'll talk about now. So I think one way to think about the internet economy and what we're going to talk about today, starting with this presentation, is we talk a lot about the next billion users, or as the minister said yesterday, the last billion users. And that's critical, of course. But what about the next million, 2 million, last million businesses? What about bringing them online, bringing them into the economy so that they can have the benefits of other companies that are online and able to buy and sell and hire and conduct their business online? So that's really going to be the focus of today. And as Alice said, this is a work in progress, so we're looking forward to input from you through the comments after this session, through the roundtables that we do later, from contributions from the other speakers. Really looking at the question of what does it mean to bring businesses online? Is it the same? Is it just buying an iPhone and sticking it on the middle of the table at your little business and then you're online? Or is it creating a website? Does it take different skills than individuals? Different benefits? So we'll be looking at all of those questions throughout today. So the way that I would propose thinking about this is that the first thing you need, and the thing that we've been talking about a lot, is an internet sector that's vital for creating an internet economy, meaning you need the infrastructure to go online, and you need the content and the hosting, as we talked about yesterday with that press release, to be able to host the content locally and to be able to have a strong foundation for the internet economy. That is through the internet sector. Then you need a strong internet economy to build up, bringing all traditional companies and sectors online, so that they can increase their efficiency, so that they can increase their revenues. And also focus on creating a digital government, e-government, and bringing all social services online, so you have a fully online economy. And one intermediate step to that, you can think about internet platforms, using a very broad definition of platform, but really these are intermediaries that help all businesses go online, whether that's mobile money systems, support for entrepreneurs through innovation hubs, helping employees get the skills and find the jobs in the new digital economy. So there's a lot of platforms that help transition from having a strong internet sector to an internet economy. And you can think about what we've been doing in internet development in a cycle. And there's, I think, 3 stages to that cycle. The first was infrastructure. If you think about 10 years ago in Africa, there was one submarine cable connecting the continent on the west coast and then some in the north. Now, Mombasa, I think, has 4, maybe a 5th one coming. There's submarine cables touching almost every coastal country of Africa. 10 years ago, the iPhone hadn't been released. It's the 10th anniversary this year. So the concept of mobile broadband didn't exist, so you had to think about fixed broadband, and of course that was very tricky given the state of the networks. Today, in every country, mobile coverage is much bigger than adoption. On average in Africa, 56% of people live within range of a 3G signal. So 56% of people could get online from where they live or work, but 21% of people on average are internet users. So there's this huge gap between coverage, the ability to go online, and actually going online. So that led the Internet Society and many others to start thinking about the demand side. Content that brings, the local content that brings people online, the innovation hubs that help the entrepreneurs create the content that meets local needs in the local language for local use. So that's been a strong focus is in the second cycle. But now you could argue, and the numbers aren't very good, but it's possible that now individual use is kind of outpacing business use. That is real solid use of the internet by small businesses in Africa. As I say, the numbers on that aren't very good, and that's one of the problems. Nobody is really studying business use of the internet versus individual. So that leads us to the topic of today, which is the business use, adoption and usage by small businesses and others, agricultural and others in Africa, to create a real internet economy. So I'll just put a few statistics up on why this is important to focus on an internet economy. So just a question, if you look at the US with all of their IBMs, Googles, everything, what percentage of GDP do you think that the ICT sector covers in the US? Over 10%, under 10%? Over? It's 7% in the US and 6% on average in OECD countries, 3.8% in Kenya. So that's really suggesting that it's important to have an ICT sector, but your economy is not going to be based on just ICT. That's going to be critical, but the critical part is what it does to the rest of your economy. And so a number for that is what part of growth of an economy is covered by, is caused by the internet. And 75% of the growth in economies caused by the internet comes outside of the ICT sector. That is, traditional industries benefit the most from internet. And that's what drives growth. Bringing all the traditional businesses online and having them benefit from internet is much more critical to the overall growth of an economy than the part that comes just from the ICT growth. Okay, ICT companies are efficient by definition, right? They use the latest technologies anyway. That's not going to drive your growth to the extent that bringing every business online and giving them access to the global internet economy, that's what's going to drive growth. And just as evidence of that, the e-commerce market worldwide, according to UNCTAD, is $22 trillion. Of that, 10% is business to consumer, meaning that, yeah, we talk about Amazon and Jumia and all these e-commerce companies because we see them and we use them, and we're trying to create them, but that's a very small part of the e-commerce sector. 90% of it is business to business, meaning, and that's what's driving the growth, because when you get businesses online buying and selling to each other, they're becoming much more efficient, they can profit from a global market, and grow and drive the growth in the economy. So these are really some of the numbers as to why it's important to get all of your economy online and not just focus on the ICT sector. There's others in terms of exports, jobs, it's all coming from bringing the whole economy online. So we kind of categorized and cataloged a lot of growth, a lot of what's happening in Africa. And there are a number of internet platforms emerging that help companies go online and help conduct an internet economy. There's mobile money, and especially in M-Pesa, that has a whole ecosystem around it of bank accounts, payments, solar panels that you can buy with M-Pesa. Now, the first time in the world, there's these bonds government bonds that you can buy with M-Pesa, and they sold out very, very quickly in Kenya. That was just a few months ago. There's innovation ecosystems to help entrepreneurs get venture capital, learn, get mentorship, grow through the innovation hubs. There's employment sites, platforms for ICT, data centers starting to emerge, content delivery networks, a lot of platforms, and then some that just focus on e-commerce. These three at the bottom here are in Nigeria, helping companies create their websites, helping them deliver what they're selling, and helping payments through vouchers. That's SureBids at the bottom. So there's a lot of platforms emerging, so that's very positive for helping to bring the economy online. And then there's emerging internet economy, business to consumer, of course. There's plenty of examples of business to consumer companies coming up. Business to business is starting to emerge, with companies helping, street vendors get their supplies, content marketing, property management. So a lot of different business to business. E-agriculture, helping the farmers with their crops, where to sell them, when to plant them, when to fertilize. So there's a lot of help there. I think we'll hear from one of the e-government platforms today, the one in the Irembo online platform here in Rwanda. There's one in Kenya as well, bringing the government online. I think here in Rwanda now, if you needed a visa, you can get your visa and pay for your visa online through this platform. And these social services, there's a church management platform, for health. There's a lot of platforms here in Rwanda. You can pay for your bus with a card, tapping your card. So there's a lot of internet economy emerging, but it's not universal. It's more in pockets, because not all countries have an internet sector that's strong and enough of a platform for the internet economy. There's not enough platforms. Not every country has mobile money as widespread as M-Pesa. So you don't have the platforms everywhere. So a lot of progress still needs to be made in bringing the internet economy to all countries. And as I said, there's very few statistics on business use of internet. And one of them that does exist is the World Bank surveys companies around the world that are registered and have at least 5 employees in the manufacturing and service sector. And in Africa, only 32% of those have their own website. So there's a lot of work to be done to bring all of these companies online. And that's with 5 or more employees. The smaller ones, probably there's far less. So what I'd like to start the discussions in the roundtables are, what are the roadblocks and what are the policy recommendations. And just to start the discussion, the way you can think about the roadblocks in the internet sector is with a map like this, with a chart like this. I'm sorry, you can't read the bottom, but the far left shows the coverage of mobile voice in Rwanda, which is essentially 100% of people in Rwanda can get a voice signal. The middle one shows that 88% of those people can get a 3G or 4G signal. And the final one is the number who have subscribed, which is about 26%. And so this shows how you can think about the gaps in the internet sector. There's three here. You need to increase the broadband coverage to cover everybody, so that everyone lives within range of a broadband signal. You need to bring those people who could go online but are not online, give them a reason to go online, make it more affordable, find better local content and services. And for those who are already online, they'll always benefit, and so will the businesses, from a better experience, better bandwidth, less latency, cheaper devices, all of that. So there is actually a fourth gap, which we don't have here. In many countries, even the mobile voice network doesn't cover everybody. So up at the top, on average in Africa, 11% of people don't even have a voice signal. And that's a tough one to solve because it's very expensive or very low income people. So, there's a lot of discussion now about community networks and other ways to bring the last group online. Here in Rwanda, that a problem essentially doesn't exist, that everyone at least can get a voice signal. So that's the gaps in the internet sector. Then you can think about roadblocks to creating an internet economy. So I would categorize them this way, that you can think about what is the business environment in general to bring companies online, to create companies, bring them online. What is the gaps or the roadblocks for existing companies to go online? Gaps or the roadblocks for existing companies to go online.